تحفز النفس الكريمة تبتغي الجنات بحلول شهر الصوم والرحمات والرضوان.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Regarding Juz 8 of the Kitab Allah, the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and continuing our discussion. In the beginning pages of Juz 8, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses how He gives Hidayat and guidance. Hidayat, guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon Deen, is considered the greatest ni'mah, and in fact is the greatest ni'mah possible that anybody could receive. For ultimately it is through the medium of hidayah and guidance, no matter how difficult a person's worldly life is, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant them salvation in the hereafter in Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of the onset of that hidayat and guidance. It answers a very important question, that how come there are those who are blessed with seemingly the intellect of this world, but they are never guided towards the Tawheed and the oneness of Allah, although they may be kind individuals and they may be, well, let's call them intelligent from a worldly perspective. Yet there are those who come from seemingly nowhere, and sometimes they are antagonistic towards Islam and Deen, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants them hidayah and guidance and the knowledge of Deen and the wisdom of Islam in general dawns upon them, and they not only become appreciative of it, but they become staunch followers through the will and the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of His working by saying, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فمن يرد الله أن يهديه يشرح صدره للإسلام. That person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends that He guides him by way of hidayat and guidance towards Deen, يشرح صدره للإسلام, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expands his chest for Islam. So this is the sole ni'mah and bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that cannot be purchased, and neither can it be possibly acquired. There are certain things that can be acquired. For example, the learning of information can be acquired by a person. It doesn't necessarily mean the person will be guided through that information, but it is through the personal effort of a person that they may acquire information regarding any subject. But hidayah and guidance cannot be acquired by a person, but it is but the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where a person's heart becomes enlightened towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the opposite side, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also is the giver of dhalalah, that where a person does not find hidayat and guidance towards Deen, remains obstinate on kufr and disbelief, remains firm in their personal belief, although they may have even served the cause of Deen in some way. And Abu Talib, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was a prime example, serving Deen in the capacity of him protecting Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he himself never having the opportunity of being granted hidayat and guidance by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, وَمَن يُرِدْ أَن يُضِلَّهُ, that person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends that he be steeped in dalala, in misguidance, يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes his chest tight, constrained, كَأَنَّمَا يَسَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ, as if he is climbing in the sky. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the simile of a person who is climbing up a mountain, and as he goes higher and higher and the air becomes thinner and thinner, or a person somehow travels in the sky and has an opportunity to disembark from an aircraft, is not going to find the quality of air the same that he finds or she finds on earth, but rather it would be thinner. This person will have difficulty in breathing. They will now have to catch their breath. They will have to acclimatize. But nonetheless, they will not find a good time of it initially until they themselves are able to get used to the situation. And it's very likely that that may never happen. the feeling itself of where a person feels constrained is being referred to. And this is the important simile over here. That person who is not guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does it seem or what does it mean? That the heart or the chest of that person is dayiqan, is tight, is constrained. It means that no matter how intelligent they are from an academic point of view, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow that individual to accept Deen. And whenever the argument of Deen, no matter how palatable it is and understandable it is presented to them, they will not understand, or they will choose to ignore it, but rather it will be constrained upon them that their heart will not be able to accept it, using the two examples of one who has been blessed with Hidayat and guidance, and the person who has not been given Hidayat and guidance, and a person who is not guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala include us in the former and not the latter. Thereafter, a few pages later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses the aspect of the Mushrikeen, where they had come with an argument to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wherein they say, سَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا لَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا أَشْرَكْنَا وَلَا آبَاؤُنَا وَلَا حَرَّمْنَا مِنْ شَيْءٍ. That, the people of shirk said that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished, we would have not committed shirk and polytheism and kufr and disbelief, and neither would our forefathers and ancestors, and nothing would have been made haram, or nothing would have, we would not have considered anything to be haram upon us. This alludes to a point that even the Mushrikeen understood very well, that Islam and Deen is not the mere statement that needs to be recited of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, but the entire discussion thereafter alludes to a lifestyle change which they were very conscious about, and they knew very well. That they were aware that not only will we be reciters of the kalima, but at the same time, our testification demands that an entire lifestyle change of habit, of practice, of dietary requirements, all of it now becomes binding upon us. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is instructed to now respond to these very same people by telling them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consistently says, Qul, tell them, O Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that ta'alaw atlu ma harrama rabbukum, that come to me and come to what your Rabb has made haram upon you, that you will not ascribe any partners to him, anything. And then thereafter, a number or a series of personal lifestyle choices that needed to be altered for them and for everybody is now discussed. Wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, that we also demand upon you to be kind to your parents. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُم مِّنْ إِمْلَاقٍ, and you will not kill your awlad or your children from poverty. نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّاهُمْ, we will sustain you and we will sustain them as well. And thereafter, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الْفَوَاحِشَ, you will not go close to indecency, what is apparent from it and what is concealed. There is wisdom in the coupling of these two segments of the ayah over here, that the Mushrikeen used to engage in the practice of killing their children, infanticide, not only because they wanted boys instead of girls, but because they felt the right that if we cannot afford a larger extended household, then we have the liberty to take the life of our own children under the pretext and understanding that we want to preserve our economic standing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has explicitly made this haram, that where a person either decides on their own, al-iyadhu billah, to kill off their infants and their children because of poverty, or to stop the practice of gaining more children on the context or on the impact of poverty alone. With regards to the usage of contraception, which is an independent subject on its own, there are some instances where the ulama have permitted the usage of contraception. But it is unanimously understood that if a couple does so for the fear of poverty, it is haram, it is impermissible. Why? Because it is the promise of Allah, نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّاهُمْ, that we will sustain you, we will sustain them. And where a person feels that, no, I am the one that is the provider here, I am the one that is extending my sustenance unto my children, it is an impermissible thought and an impermissible practice. And thereafter Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses fawahish and indecency. And although it may have been less pertinent to them, it's very pertinent to the time that we are living in. That where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alludes that where many people may make a lifestyle choice of them not being, in their terms, quote unquote, burdened with children and family, so that they may actively pursue fawahish, they may actively pursue an indecent lifestyle. And although it may have been less evident in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not entirely absent, mind you, but in our time, this particular ambit of the ayah is very clear. That how many people, especially in westernized societies, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save the ummah, have made an active lifestyle choice that I will not have children, I will not have a family, I will not raise a family, but at the same time, the intent and the purpose is not purely and only economic, that they may have got plenty of money, but because they feel that my lifestyle of fawahish, indecency, the good times that I'm currently experiencing, the ability for me to come at home at any time of the hour, in any state of intoxication or otherwise, to spend my money on my own personal whims, fancies and desires, and to be with, even though it be temporary, only for a single night, to whoever I want to without commitments. Well, this fawahish in our time is directly related to the attitude that I do not want awlad, children and family, because I'm a worshipper of my fawahish and my own nafs and desires and own personal carnal whims and fancies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala couples it in this ayah over here from an instruction that was given to the mushrikeen and the disbelievers, to show us that such type of attitude, even to harbor it, is from the very same attitude of kufr and disbelief, and it is something which is to be rejected in Islam. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concludes the advice to them that do not kill the soul which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made haram, illa bilhaq, to show that Islam is in supportive of the death penalty. You may use execution, but illa bilhaq, with a legitimate reason that has been established in other places in the Quran or in the Sunnah, but at the same time can be applied should the justice system prevail, what is known as the hudud and the perimeters of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us pious understanding. Ameen.
واكتب لنا أن ندخل الجنات بالريان.